Hello, welcome to Burdock Radio. I'm your host, Keith Gosted. With me today is James Murphy, and that track you were just listening to was James Murphy and John Litke, contribution to the Burdock 10 CD, and it was called, I always forget the whole title, it's Jackie Skipped
a heartbeat and dove into the sea.
Into the sea. All right.
Sea.
Now that actual track, James, was performed and recorded at Discovery?
That one was at the MATC auditorium.
That's what I said.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
We have a video that was recorded at Discovery World of us performing our own interpretation of that piece.
Right. Okay, so it was you and John John Litke. Is it Litke or Lightke? Yes.
I think it's Lightke.
Lightke?
I'm not sure, but he's a very friendly fellow and will answer to either.
Okay, so as long as he doesn't get too upset with us, he'll get upset with me. We'll get upset with you. He's also in a band.
He's in a few bands. Face of Ruin and Shroud of Despondency.
Those are metal bands.
Yeah, he's a killer guitarist and very diverse, in his influences and what he's capable of too.
Right. But on that track he was not playing guitar, it was you playing, I think.
Yeah.
Right? What was he playing on that?
John was playing a Roland Juno synthesizer and a theremin.
That's the
Theremin,
that crazy thing from Forbidden Planet. If you've ever seen the movie, the science fiction movie.
Yeah, the Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys. Mars Attacks.
Oh, man.
With, Danny Elfman.
Okay. It's also used in like every science fiction movie from the 1950s. Or
Pretty
something.
much.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense because it's really creepy sounding. You can get a lot of really interesting sounds out of it, but the way you play it is also kind of creepy to me. I remember seeing, I think it was like Matthew Sweet or somebody.
Okay.
I think it was Matthew Sweet on like Conan O'Brien, like playing a theremin and being having a look on his face like he was manipulating time and space.
It's funny sometimes when we're in a tight quarters, if I get too close, my guitar neck will set it off and start to play it.
Uh-huh.
Just the way it works in energy.
Okay. Now, what were you playing on that track?
Because
I've seen you guys perform, and you guys have a lot of equipment set out, and it's just the two of you, and there's a lot of running around.
We have a lot more now that John brought in a mini Moog synthesizer that he also plays.
Okay.
On that track, I was manipulating the beat machine that I had programmed.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing, and then on that one, just a guitar and my delay pedal.
Okay.
But I've added a loop station, which has opened up a world of influence. I've been able to incorporate clarinet, and I have Irish tin whistles and other various wind things that we can do, and
right on.
Allows us to incorporate live percussion on top of that too if we want.
Okay, now I've got to see you guys perform it again, because I remember you guys playing it at Burdock 10 back in December. And have you guys played together since then?
No, we've both been, because I was busy finishing up for the Nothing Special release, and John went on tour in April, and school was finishing up. So
it was really special performance then, and you've got a recording of that performance that you are mixing and mastering right now.
Oh yeah, it's done and it's posted.
It's posted?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Where can people get that?
They can find it if you go to eavesdroprecords.bandcamp.com, and eavesdrop is spelled EVES, as in the possessive of the first woman. eavesdroprecords.bandcamp.com. And if you click on any item and then you click on more releases, it's on the side. It's a little bit buried in there. We haven't really we're just making a real big push for establishing it as, getting our presence together now that we've been developing our sound, because it started out as just like almost a whim to experiment in ways that I had never, and John has experience in noise and experimental music.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to try it. That I was coming in from just doing the Catharsis album for my friend Sick, and I was going for more electronic drum and bass oriented sound. So I was curious about trying to develop that into something live and to relinquish all necessity for like harmonic and melodic architecture, to just kind of give it up and exist within sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you said that you were working on something with another person. You've actually collaborated with a lot of people on their albums just as a musician. I don't know if you talk a little bit about that, because I remember James Murphy and the Murph Tones.
That was none. I know.
It was a one-time thing.
There's the Liquor Pigs Murphy up when I was in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But I mean, you've played around a lot with a lot of different musicians.
Yeah.
And you've supported a lot of people's projects with your talents. And I was just wondering if you talk a little bit about that. So like what were you doing for Sick?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had the gift of being able to perform with a lot of different and really talented people. My friend Sick is, the album was Catharsis. It was a 7-track sort of concept dealing with the 7 stages of the grieving process.
Okay.
And his name is Sick, spelled Psich. And that was a mutual collaboration on him having a lot of material that he hadn't been able to do much with, as far as he's a rhythm poet, spoken word MC sort of thing.
Right.
And I wanted to try this new genre of music for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was had been gotten into and been listening to sort of more electronic music like Dosh and Dintel and even the Ghost albums by Trent Reznor and 9 Inch Nails are these like 2 beautiful instrumental records. So we did that project, and that was a lot of fun. We brought out again, and I think I have a thing for 7-piece bands. We had that time also, and released it, and it was a good time.
Awesome. Okay.
That's also available on eavesdroprecords.bandcamp.com for free. All this stuff, by the way, is free. I give it away, so sorry.
No, that's great. I'll put a link to it on the riverwestradio.com. Burdock. If you go to the Burdock Radio page, I'll put a link in there.
Yeah, if you don't, I'll know.
Yeah, you will. But it won't be today because
my
library time has expired. Yeah. You're listening to Poverty Radio. James Murphy and Keith Costed. 2 guys that met each other in the library on the east side and became fast friends. Actually, we met at Stage Right when you were playing on Wednesday nights as part of a jazz duo.
Yeah, I mean Chris Newland and myself.
Right, and you guys just kind of riffed off of each other and played some standards, I think.
Yeah, mostly standards. We're doing, trading bass lines and solos and stuff.
And he got busy with his band and had to break out. But you hung around for a while and started doing some of your solo work.
Yeah.
And that's how I started hearing the songs that are on the Nothing Special at All CD. And I think I've heard you perform everything on there a couple of times. But it seems like every time is just different in like a really interesting way. Like
Thank you.
I Would For You is maybe one of my favorite songs.
Uh-huh.
It really is a great song, and there's a really cool story behind it. Maybe if you could tell the tale before we play the track.
Sure. I don't know if I've done this in a public arena.
Well, is this taboo? Should we not?
No.
Because when you told it to me, it made me think of the song in a whole new way.
It's based on what I believe is a Japanese folktale about the gods, thunder and lightning, were wreaking havoc on the people and just destroying things. So, this young samurai who was engaged to the emperor's daughter was engaged to this young samurai, and the emperor's father. The emperor. Okay, sorry, I'm confusing everything.
No, don't worry.
Emperor.
He did have some coffee earlier. But he came in, so.
And some food today, actually. So I'm all digesting and brain farting.
They were spicy chips.
The emperor had promised his daughter to the gods of lightning and thunder
Right.
in order to get them to stop ravaging the countryside. Now, the samurai, in love with his daughter and betrothed, didn't want to lose her like that. So he got a magical sword with which he used to fight and trap the spirits of lightning and thunder within. Well, the rest of the gods got really upset because you don't really break a deal with that. So what happened is they charged the emperor with making amends for this, and the end result was that the samurai was turned into a stone statue, and the princess essentially was beheaded by her own father in offerings to the gods.
Oh my God. Now that, when you told me that story, and then the lyrics that you write in the song, and how they kind of, it's like a retelling in a way, but it's also like your take on it.
Yeah, well, I guess what was interesting to me is the concept of like, I would like die for you, or I would do these things for you, but would you live for somebody? You know, if you really love somebody, how would you live for them instead of die for them?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's almost easier to die for somebody. And sometimes, you know, when you take up arms for whatever reason against something, maybe you're unaware of certain implications. So in some ways, the best support you can give to somebody is to almost not fight for them. You know, like lay down your sword.
That is a really powerful message, I have to say, and that's what made me take the song to heart in a whole new way, because I had heard you perform it like countless times. I said, and with backing instruments and solo. Faster you've played it a little bit slower, more sweetly, with more like a kind of a linger on the notes and everything. So I've heard that song up, down, backwards, and forwards, and I had never heard that story. When I heard that story, it really like impacted me and made me appreciate the song on a whole new level. So I want to play that right now off of the Nothing Special CD by James Murphy, and this is called I Would For You. Are we getting sound?
I don't hear it.
Uh-oh. Hold on a second. We're having technical difficulties. This always happens at least once a show. Last week it was at the very end of the show. So we're going to try it again. I Would For You by James Murphy.
And I would fight the lightning for you. And I would fight the thunder too. I would fight the gale force winds and be left standing in the end for you. I will fight the roaring river, take on the raging ocean tides, and I will fight the hurricane back to the eye from whence it came for you. I would do for you. I would do for you. I would do for you. I would lay down my sword. I will subjugate the forests. I'll bring a mountain to its knees, and I will set foot on the sun and bring its heart back in my palm for you. I will fight the dark of night, take on the denizens of fright, and I will fight the dragon lord at the center of its core for you. I would do for you. I would do for you.
And there you have it. I Would For You by James Murphy.
Jaems.
Yes. We should talk about that a little bit. You've purposefully, not misspelled, respelled your name in order to generate...
Google results.
Google-rific. So
Google-friendly spelling.
when you're looking this up, and hopefully you're listening to it live, but you're going to notice if you listen to this in podcast that indeed it is spelled differently. So let me talk about that track a little bit. How did you record the stuff for Nothing Special? Are you smiling? Is this it's fun or is it?
Yeah, it's a fun smile.
Fun smile. Okay.
I recorded it all.
What was the process like? How about that?
Well, actually that's kind of interesting. I had exchanged emails with the composer for Adventure Time, Casey James Basicis, and he had made some recommendations, so I kind of went and tried to follow through with them as best as I could. And basically I was writing like 1 or 2 songs a day for about 2 weeks.
Right.
And as I would work on them, the ones that I felt stronger about, or I did like scratch demos of all of them, but at the end of that time period I had about a good number of pieces that kind of grew on me and I had recorded and were kind of decent like that. And then recorded it all up in my house over the course of most of the tracking was done within a few weeks. The vocals took a lot longer, and as I played them out live, they would sort of change a little bit, so I was able to incorporate that.
Okay. And you play out live with the group, and you call the Vedic Eden.
Yeah, the Vedic or Vedic Eden, depending on, I'm not sure myself how to pronounce it, but it's Vedic, Eden.
Yeah. And how many people, that's like a rotating cast of characters in that group.
Well, it's pretty... Yeah, well, as far as who was able to make it out to a show, it's a 7-piece band, and these guys, everybody in the band is, I'm so lucky to have found them and that they're interested and willing to work in this project because they're all in like 2 to 3 other bands on top of working day jobs or teaching. And
right.
Kashina Arman, she's got, a young daughter that she has to take care of by herself,
right.
So they're really committed.
That's great. I mean, and I've seen you guys play, and it's amazing to me because I don't know how much practice time everybody's able to get in. Because not only are these people busy with their lives and everything, but a lot of them are also in other projects.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how much practice time you get in, but when you get in to play live, it always sounds just flawless.
Thanks. That is due to the diligence and talent of the people who I've gathered together. They're all like top notch, and some of this stuff isn't the easiest, and we're kind of has a little different approach. So if you're used to approaching music in a different way, sometimes to play sort of what we have going on with the Vedic Eden, you kind of have to come at it a little bit differently, which can take but we've been doing it now together like 6 months in this formation, so it's kind of settled in. Everybody, can anticipate and pick up pretty well.
Do you have live recordings of your performances with them at all?
We have the Nothing Special at All release celebration. We were able to record that set.
Is that on the Bandcamp site?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to link that up. So
yeah.
Right.
eavesdroprecords.bandcamp.com.
Good drop. All right. And then what else is going on? I'm trying to remember what we were talking about that we were going to talk about before we got in here. But you're going to have a show coming up at Stage Right.
Yes, a return
show. Now, you haven't played there, since December or November?
January.
Okay.
It's like right after the release show, I think. I had a little bit of a...
Yeah, I remember you came in and did a practice set with the entire Vedic Eden.
Yeah.
And then the release show happened like a couple days later at the Public House. And then I think you came back the next week, and that was...
Yeah, with my friends Adam Dosmagen and Cody Calderon.
Right.
My Herman Astro, Micah Olson OCD friends.
Okay.
The crack rhythm section, as the papers like to call them.
Well, there you go. Now we can talk about that because you are playing the big gig. You're at Summerfest this year as part of Micah Olson and the OCD
Yeah.
Big band, is it? Or is it just
Yeah,
like
the OCD Big Band. Yeah, Micah Olson and the OCD Big Band were on the Casio stage June 30th at 12:30.
I think it's 1:30. Is it 12:30 or 1:30?
Oh, 1:30. We have to
1:30.
be there by 12:30.
You have to be there by 12:30. Put suntan lotion on.
No, I have a big hat and I get driven to the stage in a van. And
An air-conditioned van, right?
Yeah, that
or is
way.
it a livestock van?
No, it's sometimes I might smell like livestock, but it's.
How many cats do you have again?
I have only 3.
Only 3 cats. I have 1 cat, so we talk about our cats. Next time you come on, we'll have like a cat chat.
I've been surprised to find out how many, adult men who are single that I've met lately that have cats, and even Grant Morrison, the great comic book novelist, he's a cat man.
Yeah, I don't know what that is or what that says about us, or that we're weird, or because if you have a cat, you can't help but be a bit of a masochist. Because they claw you for no reason every once in a while. They love you, they're purring, and they bite you, and then you bleed, and they run away, and then you feed them, and then they stink your house up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, then you scoop their business into a bag,
and then you write songs, and you put them on a CD. Now on the CD case, I just remembered to ask you about this. The artwork is it's photography. And you got some makeup done on you there. Yeah,
my lovely friend Alexis Hope Bronsmans of Lunatic and Swan Studios, the Lunatic and the Swan, I think. I forget, my apologies. She's an amazing artist in all respects, and she's a photographer and loves to do this surrealistic portraiture. And we got all done up in sort of the emulation of this character and walked around the city taking pictures. And
sure. Now, if you're watching this on the live feed, there is video, and hopefully you can, you just flipped it over. So what are you like Pan in this? Kind of?
Yeah, it's alluding to that Pan or Puck, Midsummer Night's Dream, this sort of like woodland mystic sort of mysteriousness.
Sure.
Like this, what ended up coming out of the 2 weeks working on this was really interesting. Writing that much material and forcing myself within a day to complete 1 or 2 songs lyrically and musically, you just kind of got to let go. And what really came out was this sort of reflecting perspective on childhood or growing up out of it, and what that's like, and what you sort of lose, and what you have to give up to, assume your role in the adult world. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to go back a little bit because we did just talk about cats. I wonder if I could just shove one more song in here real quick, if I could play Of a Tiger.
Yeah, you can do that.
Because I played this CD at my house when I first got it, and I have my cat's only a year old, so at the time I think she was 6 months about.
Yeah.
And I played this song, and she jumped up in my lap, and it was the most adorable thing ever. And so this is a really good song to bond with your cat. This is Of a Tiger off of Nothing Special at All by James Murphy.
Kashina.
Like it was your best friend.
End of the song.
Motorcycle.
You think that made the radio? The motorcycle at the end?
I hope so. Because I don't want a pickle. I'd rather just have a motorcycle.
I don't want to cause no trouble. All right. So,
I just don't want to have trouble with tribbles.
if you have tribbles, you can get your cat to eat them. All right. So, now we were talking about the shows that you got coming up at Summerfest and Stage Right. So, everyone should come out to Stage Right. That's going to be taking place at what time? 10 o'clock?
10. Oh, yeah. We'll be playing with the Gazetteers, who are really awesome neo anti-folk group.
Neo anti-folk?
I'm not sure what it's like. This new sort of I don't want to call it alternative folk, but it's like this acoustic bass with like sort of folk origins, but it evolves. It incorporates other elements into it.
Okay, I'm curious because a friend of mine who's also on the Burdock 10 CD, James Gopinski, he calls what he plays anti-folk. And I had tried like to twist out a definition out of his arm for like however long. I couldn't get him to like give me something that was sufficient to ease my mind. I want to know, what is anti-folk?
Well, it was, I guess, as far as I understand, the actual origins of that were these sort of outsider folk musicians in New York weren't allowed to be or participate in this folk festival.
Okay.
So they started their own and called it the Anti-Folk Festival. And my understanding of it is that it like has its foundation like traditional folk forms and concepts and delivery.
Okay.
And it's grounded with like at its core an acoustic element, like generally an acoustic guitar or piano.
Sure.
But then it incorporates like electronic elements or other song forms and genres, or it'll extend itself.
Now, how is that different from like chamber folk?
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I'm not chamber
right.
folk is something.
You're listening to Genre Talk with Keith Gosted and James Murphy. Yeah. So like I could fall into these chats with other people, but you won't let me go into that La Brea tar pit of conversation that is genres, and you're a smart man for it. But I would like to ask now, what do you consider your music to the Nothing Special? Because you play a lot of different types of music. So when you were developing a theme for the James Murphy and the Vedic Eden concept, what kind of things were you using to like shape it? You know, like
Well, a lot of it was actually that specific summer. It was the sounds of nature. Like each summer, I kind of meditate on a different sound.
right.
And the summer before Nothing Special was cicadas. The summer of Nothing Special were the crickets. And now this summer is the birds. All bands, right? But but actually, a lot of the influence, it allowed me to. I really enjoy Tom Waits' work, and Bone Machine was pretty powerful on me. And when I heard him talking about the direction he took in to get rid of the trap kit, the traditional drum set, because it traps you, it really opened something up to me. And I was kind of wondering about the concept of acoustic musics and the origins of music and the idea of folk music before, you know, like in the 1600s, what would be being played by some fool who happens upon a guitar, you know, without training and stuff. And so
If you want to know what happens when somebody doesn't know what to do with an instrument, you should watch me play. Yeah. But you know too much about what you do. That's not fair.
no, I know. I only know that I know nothing.
You know so much. You're so smart, James Murphy.
But I was able to also draw in the love of Donovan. He's probably my favorite unsung hero of the 60s, and
Sure.
his amazing talent. Vocally, lyrically, he had such play and joy with the way he would deal with concepts and allude to things and make these very real pictures, but they're entirely open to like perception and your own interpretation. So it was that's kind of what I was trying to recapture, that sound, like the essence of rock and roll, or what an alternative could have been had things played out differently.
Right.
Like a steampunk version of rock and roll.
Really? Okay. Now that's an interesting idea, because with the surrealistic imagery that you got on the album cover, and you've actually dressed up a few times for the Vedic Eden shows.
Yeah, as often as I can.
Yeah. Well, should I not talk about it? Are you planning on
I don't know.
Doing something special at all?
We'll see. We haven't done a show in the summer, so
everything would melt off you probably. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it gives me a chance to pull out my summer costume garb.
A sarong?
Yeah.
Great. All right, James Murphy and a sarong, everybody. Next week, Wednesday at Stage Right.
Moo-moo.
Moo-moo. Oh, jeez. I feel like there should be a drink with a little umbrella in it there.
I'll just wear my cats around my unmentionables.
You can tie like a chain together with their tails. Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Somebody's calling the cops on us right now for that conversation. All right. So, what else? We talked about surrealism a little bit, and I wanted to get back into that. One of the funnier conversations that you and I have ever had was when you explained the entire Paul McCartney thing to me. I don't want to get into that right now, but you people, good people, can Google that stuff. Google that mess. F-A-U-L, McCartney. And what it means to think of songwriting from that perspective, as far as like putting together, I guess, concepts and themes and stringing the songs together that way, as opposed to, kind of, well, I'm going to write about, birds or something, like you said. But instead you're actually writing metaphors about birds, or something to do with flight maybe, or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, it's kind of the power of art. I remember, for what it's worth, reading The Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce, and in there he claims that literature is the highest form of art, to be a writer in that context. And as much as I didn't want to agree with him, I kind of had to, because of in that you can create a total reality for somebody. So to tie that into the concept of alternate realities and perception, if in the universe where Paul McCartney died and was replaced with a double, the clues being hidden within all the songs, you're able to realize that if that was the case, and what was put forth by some theorists out there, that all the Beatles songs since then were about him. That's an impressive tribute, to be able to take this idea and disguise it and weave it through everything, through seemingly unrelated lyrics and stories.
Mm-hmm.
Was kind of interesting to me, to be able to get these multiple layers of meaning and reality into like a work of art.
Yeah.
I know great artists have been doing it for however long, but with where we're at, media-wise, to bring it all together in a true operatic sense, the Gestalt, the music, as Wagner liked to put it, where you have everything together. You have
the total work of art.
Yeah. Theater, acting, emotion, drama.
Right.
Music, dance.
That's kind of what popular culture is, kind of, in a way, too. I mean, to some extent, because
the Super Bowl.
Well,
can I not say that? The big game.
Well, remember that year that Paul McCartney played that?
Yeah.
Right after 9/11.
Oh,
and then the Patriots won.
And again, and again, and again.
And
then they found out they were cheating that whole time.
See, you can create your own realities. And that's the thing. But when you pointed that out to me, and because I had never heard of that, but it cracked me up. But it also demonstrated that you can take anything artistic and derive your own meaning from it if you, as a viewer or listener, decide to do so. And I guess what's interesting is the idea that I don't know how much the Beatles ever sat down trying to make textured layers of sub messages or what have you, but the fact that somebody bothered to make one up make one up. Yeah. You know, but the idea that people can take some songs like that and read into them what they want to, and then string that together even for so long is kind of fascinating to me. And I guess like what you were saying about literature doing that sort of thing, because people can read a text and derive whatever they want from it based on a given reading. But then you go back and you revisit it and you find something else in there. And I think like that says something about like process too, because you've taken a lot of time and steps to create nothing special at all. There's lots of tracking, layering going on musically, so that when a person's listening to it, they'll hear, maybe the first time around you hear the guitar, and then the second time around you get to learn the lyrics a little bit, you know, and you know, but then you discover there's more layers and more layers and more layers to it. But then those all weave together, and I think that's really interesting. You know, that not everybody always takes their time to do that, and that you did that. And and you didn't bother to call it nothing special at all.
I just had to remind myself of as artists, we can get caught up on our work, and we think it's like this really important thing, and it was an ego check for myself to, no matter how much effort I was putting into this, at the end of the day, it really was nothing special at all compared to the grand scope of reality and the wonders that you can experience walking down, you know, by the river, or through a lifetime of living and giving and loving. You know, really, it's, you know, it could all be gone, and if I wasn't able to appreciate every moment, if all I felt that gave myself value was the completion and praise that something I've worked on might receive, then I would probably be not as happy as I am.
Man, see, now that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you should come out and see James, because he's a nice guy. Yes, and he plays wonderful music. Let's see, I'm trying to think what I want to close up with before we bow out today. I want to mention quickly, well, I got to re-mention this, your show coming up next week, Wednesday, at Stage Right next to the Miramar. It's on Oakland, 2844 North Oakland Ave. There's a comedy open mic that takes place from 6:45 till about 9:30 or 10. You should come for that, because it's always good to have a laugh.
Brendan
Brendan
great.
O'Day is a really great friend of ours, and he has a show on Mondays on riverwestradio.com, World Extempore Radio. You should listen to that if you get a chance. And but you should come to the comedy open mic, and then stick around for the Gazetteers.
Yeah.
And then you're going to play the Vedic Eden.
Yeah, we're going on first.
You're going on first?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you got bedtime issues.
I don't, but you know, my friend Monica is much precious stone in this planet.
Monica is precious. She's wonderful.
She
Great
really
singer.
is.
And I hope to have
beautiful person.
her
man.
and Emily on at some point for Lyra Vega.
Yeah, we're not, you know, society doesn't praise the value in being a really good person. It's all about your position of power and what gains you have and your ability to manipulate people.
Right.
Not on your ability to just be a really compassionate, understanding, and positive spirit.
You should have your own radio show. I'd listen to that. And I'd feel better about the world, knowing that somebody like James Murphy was out there. Also, tonight, if you're listening to this live, go to Circle A and see Dana Ward and Brendan Brown reading poetry. Or go down to, if you're in the South Side, go to Carte Blanche Studios and see David Press's one-act play, Channel Zero. That's going to be really amazing, too. I am torn between those two shows, and I don't know which one I'm going to be able to go to, given how late in the day it is. But yeah, make an effort to get out and see some great stuff.
See something.
Yeah, because these shows are all very important, and the show, I should mention, is free, right?
Yeah.
Next week, Wednesday. That's a free show, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
So come out to that one, please. And I want to leave now. Is there anything else you want to add?
I would like to add some apples to my oranges.
I can't have too many oranges anymore.
You can never have too many.
Well, that's true enough. Okay, this song is 4 minutes long, and it's, what is it, 4:51 right now, or 5:51 or whatever? I don't know. All right, so this last song is Away, Away, Ah. Is there anything you want to say about this song before we play it?
Oh, yeah. It's inspired by Row, Row, Row Your Boat.
Okay.
Children's.
All right, and this is Burdock Radio. I'm Keith Gosted. For James Murphy, signing out. Away, away.
Peace. Thank you. Love.
Angry kid, sad and angry kid, wished upon a star. He would rise somewhere by the sea with a ship that said to sail on. Away, 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 children know of softly spoken spells that turn